Okay, let's unpack this. For so long, programming, digital tools, they've kind of felt like they belong to this exclusive club, right?
Yeah, the tech industry, maybe math whizzes, Silicon Valley types.
Exactly. But what if? What if that whole picture is just wrong? Like, what if programming is actually fundamentally a creative tool, almost like a paintbrush or a pen?
Well, what's really fascinating in the material we're diving into today is exactly that shift in perspective. It really challenges this idea that coding is just, dry, logical, purely functional. Instead, it's presented more as this powerful way to create, to take ideas, give them structure, and actually make them real in the digital world.
Absolutely. And that's what this deep dive is all about.
Yeah.
Exploring programming and digital tools, not as these scary hurdles, but more like keys. Keys to creative empowerment.
Yeah.
We've been sifting through this stack of notes on the topic, and they're packed with history, some surprising insights, and lots of practical ways you can actually start building things, like today.
Yeah, our mission here is pretty straightforward. Try to demystify coding a bit, make it feel accessible, even if you've never thought of yourself as techie, and show you how you can become a builder, someone who doesn't just use digital tools, but actively creates with them. That really opens up whole new possibilities.
So where did this even start? This idea of structuring logic to make something. The notes take us way, way back. They highlight people like Ada Lovelace back in the 1800s.
Right, envisioning algorithms for Babbage's analytical engine that was long before electronic computers even existed.
Incredible. And the use of punch cards, structuring input.
Yeah.
It points to this really early logic craft kind of approach.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it shows the core idea, giving instructions to a machine or a system to get a result you want that has really old roots. It wasn't just born from modern electronics.
That foundation kind of set the stage.
Yeah.
And then came this huge turning point.
The personal computer revolution.
Yeah, the 70s and 80s. Suddenly, tools like BASIC weren't just in universities or big companies. They were like in homes, schools, garages.
Yeah.
It brought coding to hobbyists, to just regular people curious about making a machine do something. It felt like tinkering, like invention almost.
Exactly. And that spirit, it carried right into the internet age. It evolved, of course, into web development, scripting, all the complex apps we use now.
But the really significant thing from the source material, especially for now, is how incredibly low the barriers to entry have become.
That's the key point, isn't it? With the explosion of open source software, tutorials everywhere, drag and drop tools, huge online communities.
Yeah.
The notes basically argue that programming is now genuinely within reach for anyone with curiosity and just a willingness to explore.
It feels less like that exclusive club now, more like a global makerspace or something.
Which kind of leads us to the next question. Given this accessibility, why should you think about learning to code today? Especially if you're not aiming for, say, a traditional tech job. The material unpacks some really compelling reasons. Things that go way beyond just job prospects.
Well, the idea of endless possibilities really jumps out. The notes paint this picture of coding as a medium for building, tools you wish existed, or creating unique digital art.
Automating tedious tasks.
Oh, definitely. Or designing your own games, interactive stories. It's like a whole new way to bring your imagination to life.
And what's particularly insightful, I think, is how learning to code helps you develop this specific problem-solving mindset.
How so?
It teaches you to take a big goal, something that might feel overwhelming, and just systematically break it down, tiny manageable steps.
Okay.
Then you learn to test each piece logically, figure out where things go wrong. You iterate. It's structured thinking, but applied directly to making something.
And there's this real sense of empowerment that comes with that, isn't there? You go from being just a user of digital tools to someone who actually understands how they're built. And more importantly, someone who can build similar things or totally new things yourself.
It unlocks this incredible creative freedom, a direct channel, really, for expressing ideas through logic, through interaction, digital form.
The source material even gets into some surprising psychological benefits, too, like debugging, finding, and fixing errors. Sounds frustrating, right?
Oh, can be.
But the notes suggest it's actually a powerful way to build resilience. Patience, too. You learn that failure isn't like the end. It's just a step.
I can definitely see that. And there's this improvement in logical thinking, abstract problem solving.
Yeah.
And that feeling you get when a piece of code finally works, even something small. It's a huge confidence boost.
Totally.
Exactly. The notes talk about how these small wins can lead to flow states, that feeling of being completely absorbed.
Right, lost in the process.
It comes directly from that iterative nature of coding. And it also strengthens systems thinking, like understanding cause and effect in complex things. It fosters this really structured kind of creativity.
Okay, so if you're listening and feeling inspired, maybe wanting to get your hands dirty, the notes offer some starting points, some beginner-friendly languages.
Yeah, Python comes up a lot. It's known for being readable, pretty versatile too. Automation, data stuff, simple games, web tools.
Okay.
Then there's JavaScript. That's fundamental for anything interactive on the web. Powers dynamic websites, browser games, all that.
And Scratch.
Scratch is brilliant, especially for visual learners or even kids starting out. It's drag and drop, teaches the core logic without you having to worry about messing up the syntax, the punctuation, and stuff.
And the advice for actually starting is great, too. The material basically says, don't just memorize, tinker.
Yes. Change a line of code, see what breaks, fix it, learn by doing.
And start small. Like really small goals. Make a button appear or change the text. Tiny steps.
Building in public is another tip from the source that's really valuable. Sharing your progress, even if it's just a messy first try on a blog or GitHub.
Was that helpful?
It reinforces your own learning and it connects you with others. You find support, feedback.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the resources are just everywhere now, and often free. The notes mention platforms like freecodecamp.org, Codecademy.
Great for structured lessons. Khan Academy even has courses on JavaScript for visual arts.
Oh, cool.
MIT's Scratch website, the Odin project for web development, and GitHub itself is just a massive library of real code to explore.
Now, this is important. The material acknowledges that writing lines and lines of code, well, it might still feel intimidating. Or maybe it's just not how everyone prefers to build things.
Exactly. And that's where this whole world of no-code and low-code tools comes in. They open up creative paths without needing all that deep programming syntax.
This is such a key part of the picture now. You can build really functional, creative digital things without writing traditional code.
Right.
The notes mention no-code tools like Glide.
Yeah.
Lets you turn a spreadsheet into a mobile app.
Yeah, or Bubble for building quite complex web apps visually, Notion automations for workflows, Zapier, IFTTT for connecting different apps together.
Automating stuff between services.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have low-code options. Things like Thunkable or Flutterflow let you build mobile apps with visual blocks, but you can add traditional code if you need to.
A bit of both worlds.
Right. Even game engines like Unity are bringing in visual scripting tools. Makes game development way more accessible.
And for artists specifically.
Yeah. The notes highlight tools like Touch Designer, that's for interactive visual systems, P5JS, which makes generative art with JavaScript much easier to get into, and processing, which is similarly but based on Java, also for visuals, animations, interactions.
So it really broadens the definition of who can be a digital creator.
Definitely. So with all these tools, all these approaches, what kinds of things does the source suggest you could actually build? The list is pretty diverse.
Yeah, it covers everything from like simple personal websites or blogs to browser extensions that maybe tweak how you use the web, tools that generate unique art or music based on rules you set up.
Interactive fiction, chatbots.
Little automation bots for small tasks, games, obviously, custom dashboards maybe for tracking your own data, or just mobile utilities that do exactly what you need them to do.
The key thing the notes really emphasize is starting small and letting projects evolve. They use a to-do list as a kind of perfect example of this.
Right. How does that work?
Okay, so stage one is just the bare basics, an HTML list, a bit of CSS for style, maybe some simple JavaScript to add items, super simple.
Got it.
Then stage two, you add a bit more polish, maybe some little animations when you add or remove things, filters to show only completed tasks.
Okay, layering it up.
Exactly. Stage three, you make it remember the list. Use something simple like local storage in the browser so it doesn't vanish when you close the tab. Or maybe later, connect it to a real database.
Right, persistence.
And stage four could be styling that whole thing up. Maybe making it part of a bigger project, like integrating it into a personal portfolio site to show off what you built.
So you build skills step by step, working on something real.
Precisely. And there's a great motivational tip linked to this. The notes strongly suggest building things you actually want to use.
Oh, yeah.
That desire to have that specific tool or create that particular piece of art that becomes the fuel. It drives you through the tricky learning bits because the reward is something you care about. Makes it feel purposeful, not just academic.
That makes a lot of sense. And if we think bigger picture, the skills you gain from this whole process, even if you never code professionally, they're incredibly transferable, aren't they? Valuable almost anywhere.
Absolutely. You get much better at communicating with technical colleagues, for one. You just understand the basic concepts.
Your overall digital literacy just shoots up. You start to understand how the digital world actually works under the hood.
And it fundamentally sharpens your problem-solving skills. That iterative, systematic approach we talked about, that applies everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely boosts creativity by giving you a concrete way to take abstract ideas and make them tangible, interactive, real.
And for anyone involved in, say, storytelling or communication, understanding these tools lets you enhance things. Interactivity, user experience design, dynamic presentations.
Sure. Now, while the benefits are clear, the source material is also good at including some nuances, counterpoints. It acknowledges it's not always, a smooth ride.
Right. Like, it recognizes that sometimes there's this overemphasis on productivity or hustle culture, the pressure to build the next big thing, monetize everything.
Yeah, but the notes kind of gently push back. They remind us that coding can also be just for play, for experimentation, personal expression, no pressure needed.
That's a relief.
There's also the very real challenge of tool overload for beginners. Just the sheer number of languages, frameworks, platforms, it can be overwhelming. The advice there is simple but key. Pick one thing, just one. Focus on that until you feel comfortable before you even look sideways at something else.
Good advice. And imposter syndrome gets mentioned too, right? That feeling of, I'm not technical enough, especially if you come from maybe a more creative background.
Yes, and the material counters that really well. It basically says logic is a skill anyone can develop. And qualities like creativity, curiosity, persistence, they're often more important than some innate technical knack.
That's encouraging.
Finally, it touches on burnout or perfectionism, especially when debugging gets really frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
The advice is step back, take breaks, and importantly, reconnect with your why. Why are you building this? Is it just functional or is it also joyful? That joy is like a compass.
That focus on joy expression, it brings us back to this really lovely philosophical perspective highlighted in the notes.
Programming is sculpting logic.
Yeah, you're shaping abstract ideas, giving them form, function. It's this unique blend of like abstraction and materiality. You need precision, but it allows for so much playfulness.
The screen really does become a canvas, like a page for a writer or clay for a sculptor.
It's a way to engage with the world that feels kind of magical sometimes. A few lines of text, and you can make a machine think, respond, create visuals, automate things.
It demystifies technology while also revealing its incredible creative potential.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just circle back to that core message. Programming is not some exclusive tech thing. It's a powerful, accessible, creative act. A tool for your own empowerment. A fascinating space just to explore.
Yeah, it's not about needing to become an expert overnight. It's really about embracing curiosity, starting small, and finding the fun in just tinkering and building stuff.
The final encouragement from the notes feels really freeing, actually. It says, you don't have to aim for the next big revolutionary app.
Yep.
The most meaningful first step is just starting. Write your very first line of code. Make a button appear. Get a shape to move across the screen. Build one tiny tool that solves one tiny annoyance in your life.
That act, just doing that, is a powerful form of creation in itself.
So code isn't just logic to execute. It's possibility. Possibility waiting to be unlocked. What possibilities might you discover just by starting to build?